turn that the fuck down. There we go. Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're back to Tavern Talking. For those who don't know, Tavern Talks are my just chatting segments where we talk about, well, a bunch of different things. So, the last time we did it, we focused on trans people and their coming out stories, which I promise I'll go back to doing those again because they're actually fascinating and I love to, help everyone. So, I am going... Today is for those who are not familiar with Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Today is to explain the very basics of what Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is. Especially to, especially to those who are interested in getting into it. If anyone is. And this is also going to lead into my next tavern talk, which is all about King Crimson, Rolling Stone, and Thoth. Three of the most confusing stands that all have to deal with the same aspect of fate in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is... So, today it's just going to be a brief rundown of what stands are, what they do, and how they are... and why they are so different depending on what character uses them. Because I think there have only been 2, maybe 3 instances of characters having the same exact stand. But we'll get to that. Anyway. So, first of all, I should probably pull up some pictures and shit, so I'm ready for whatever today may bring. Let's do... Hold on. Alright. So if we're going to talk about stands, we might as well talk about the most famous one first. The one that everyone knows and everyone loves. Hold on. Just need to save this image and then... Okay. Star Platinum. Now, Star Platinum is a very interesting stand. Because it is probably the only stand that doesn't actually follow any of the other rules of stands. So, Star Platinum... So, the abilities of stands are a extension of what their user's personality is. If that makes sense. A user's personality, their life experience, and everything is used to determine what their stand ability will be, and their stand's name is based off of the user's personality. So you'll hear a bunch of the copyrighted names in here and whatnot. It's a cool little thing. But let's start with Star Platinum. Star Platinum here is named after... How's it going, Tink Mama? We are just getting started, so you're not a second too late. We are talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and how the powers interact with the characters they belong to. So, we're starting with Star Platinum here, which is weird because he's purple. I never understood the platinum part of Star Platinum. But anyway, I digress. I'm doing well, thank you. So this entire stand is literally an exception to the rule of stands, because this stand is not based off of anything having to do with its owner. It's not, the only thing it has to do with is their family's bloodline. Because this stand comes about along with Hermit Purple and whatever Holly Cujo's stand is. I'm not going to get into that one because, you know, written in the 70s, it wasn't exactly the most, yeah. When you canonically call a baby stronger than a fully grown woman, that should tell you everything you need to know. It's sexist as fuck. Anyway. So, Star Platinum here. Yeah, I keep getting ADHD'd from the point. Is the stand of Jotaro Kujo. But it isn't exactly Jotaro's stand. It is the soul of Jonathan. Purple and blue is often used to add color to things without color, so they probably wanted Star Platinum to stand out over Silver Chariot. Maybe, but anyway. Again, getting off topic. So, Star Platinum is the soul of Jonathan Joestar, the first Jojo, if you will. They basically confirmed it in the anime, and I know it was speculated in the manga, but Jonathan Joestar here. This man is the basis of Star Platinum. All of his fighting skills, his spirit, and his will to push on has pushed him through death into a new life as Jotaro's stand. And its power, because Dio's stand comes from the power of Jonathan's body, Jonathan's stand being... Well, Jonathan becoming a stand being Star Platinum is in itself a entire thing on its own. But it fights like him, it's intuitive like him, and it freezes time like how Dio's powers. Spoilers for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but anyone who knows anything about JoJo knows what the world does. And we'll get to that in a minute. Now, stands are often based on... stands are usually based on their users' personalities. So I'm going to pull up another stand here in just a second. But yes. Let's get... fuck it. Trying to remember how to spell this. Jojo. Alright. There it is. So, I'm going to talk about everyone's favorite twink. And no, I'm not talking about Anasui. I'm talking about Narantia. Best twink in all of JoJo. But that's besides the point. He has a stand called Aerosmith. And it is a strange stand, but we'll get to that. But we're using this as an example to show what a stand does when its owner's personality and life experiences show us what happens. So, Narancia grew up effectively abandoned by his very rich father, and he grew up on the streets. He was going to die from an eye disease after being thrown in prison for being framed for the beating and robbing of an old woman. Essentially, so, layout, I'm not talking about that because I plan to do an entire talk just on that. An entire tavern talk just on King Crimson and why he's a stupid stand. We will get to King Crimson. I promise you we'll get to King Crimson. Just not today. Anyway. Narancia Gurga's Aerosmith is a lightweight toy bomber that he has, piloted by a man by the name of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith doesn't really do much, but you see him, he's like a shadowy figure piloting this nice-ass plane, honestly. It bombs, it shoots missiles, it shoots machine guns, blah, blah, blah. It gets taken over by another character by the name of Risotto Nero. Ooh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So the reason I bring this stand up is because he was abandoned, he felt like no one had his back when he got his stand. And the only person who ever stood up for him was a man named Fugo. Well, we'll get to Fugo in a bit. But Narancia's stand is entirely based off of no one having his back. So he had to have someone have his back his entire as his stand. So he has Mr. Smith piloting Aerosmith. And essentially, this is why this stand is perfect for Narancia. Because it makes him feel like he's useful to someone he cares about. Because he's also the scouter for this bomber. Now, I'm wondering if I should go darker or lighter. What do you guys think? Should we go dark or light? Does someone want to set up a poll? If not, don't worry about it. Just type your things in chat. You're biased? You don't even know where I'm going with this. So, do we want to talk about a backstory that is darker or lighter than Narancia? Because we could. Just go with it. Alright, fine. We're going darker. Let's talk about Fugo. So, FYI, I'm trying to use all of the official art of all the characters and their stands because it seems correct to. Let's talk about this gentleman and his stand, Purple Haze. So, the personality of Fugo is very simple. He is a well-mannered, very intelligent teen who, how's it going, Vicky? Whose entire personality is basically that of milquetoast. Until someone gets something wrong in academics. So, when someone gets something wrong in academics, he goes to insane extremes to show them what they've done wrong. To the point of stabbing Narancia in the face with a fork. Fugo and Purple Haze. Well, let's talk about this stand. Purple Haze is a stand that has no real personality. Its lips are sewn shut. Its body is amalgam together. And it emits a very, very potent airborne disease that kills anything within moments of touching it. So, when we first see Purple Haze, it is curled up into a ball like it is in this picture. Fugo is a rape victim. Straight up. Fugo is a rape victim. He was raped by a teacher, and that's why he has explosive outbursts when it comes to essentially anything academic, and it's why he is seen as more of a loner. It is shown in the anime very well that he really doesn't care for anyone else except for Narancia, and even then he stabs Narancia in the face. What else can I say? So his experience with being raped, which is obviously not okay, has led his mind to be insanely toxic. How's it going, Darina? His personality is warped by this, but he hides it under a facade. He can't tell anyone what happened because no one will believe him, which is why his Stan's mouth is shut. The toxin is him keeping people at arm's length so he can never truly get close to them. And he is probably the most hurt character we have seen in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, aside from my favorite character, Weather Report, or my favorite animated character, Weather Report. It's an entire thing. I feel bad for Fugo, I really do. But, so each character's power is based on how their personality is. Fugo's personality hides a deep hatred of everything and someone who is very hurt just below the surface. And his stand reflects that. Now, I know I'm just going over part 5 stands, but let's just keep with the theme here and talk about... You know what? No. Let's talk about a fan favorite character. How about that? Let's find this man and let's... Oh, there it is. Okay. We're going to get Fugo off the screen for now. Say hello to Avdol and Magician's Red. So this is one of the first Actually... this is one of the first stands ever shown in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, I love this stand. Like, hypothetically, theoretically, and it's perfect. So, for those who do not know, Muhammad Avdol is one of what they call the Stardust Crusaders, or just the Crusaders in the JoJo fandom. The Stardust Crusaders consist of 6 members, which are Jotaro Kujo, Muhammad Avdol, Joseph Joestar, Kakuin, Polnareff, and Iggy. So those are the Stardust Crusaders, and they all have a major role to play in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is honestly quite insane. But this character is the first person to show us their stand. Now, how's it going, Fuffy? Welcome. So how do I explain this? So Muhammad Avdol is a fortune teller from Egypt who believes in the supernatural and essentially is our guide to everything stand related in part 3. Essentially, what Muhammad Avdol's stand is a basis of all of his spiritual knowledge and a nod to his home in Egypt. For Magician's Red, if not clear, is supposed to be a jinn or an afrit. A Frita female, Jin if not. So his culture and his entire idolization of the spirituality of his people, Egyptians, and the culture behind his people, as top of him being a fortune teller, leaves him to produce Magician's Red, one of the coolest and probably the most broken stand out of all the Stardust Crusaders. Also, some references to Ron there too. That's my point. Like, you could keep going on and on about how Magician's Red correlates to Avdol and his belief system completely, because Muhammad Avdol is so engrossed in his own culture that he knows everything. And this is even before he became a stand user. Well, actually, no. He's a born stand user. We're not going to get into that, though. He like, we'll talk about the arrow, but he is a purebred stand user, as well as Polnareff and... Anyway. You know what? Maybe that's a topic I should get into later. Later in this stream, we talk about Requiem stands and, you know, have fun with that. Anyway. So, I want to be clear about something. I love almost every JoJo character in the show minus one, and we're going to get to that, and that's going to be for my next video. So, I feel like I should go over one more character just to prove a point, and that's going to be, you know what? Let's go on into Rat, because Rat is really interesting. So, there are two characters in JoJo who share the same stand, and that would be... Hold on. Not Bug-Eaten and Bug-Eaten, which are two different rats that own the same stand. It's hard to explain why, but yeah, these two buggers have the exact same stand. And it's because animals don't really have a personality on their own. They are essentially... How best to explain it? They go completely based off of instinct. Instinct is what animals' like main personality traits are. Dogs and cats may be a little bit different, but depending on the animal's nature depends on what actually the animal manifests its stand as. So because rats typically eat a lot of garbage, dead meat, whatever, they're scavengers. They have a stand that basically gives them infinite food. Which is called Rat, spelled R-A-T-T. So, not Bug-Eaten and Bug-Eaten have the same stand, which we are left to assume is a statement for all animals. So, all orangutans are going to have forever, or are going to have strength. All rats are going to have rat, and all dogs are going to have the fool. But the entire thing becomes, hey, what if the animal has a different personality or whatever? And it's like, well, it doesn't exactly matter. Rat stand, a long-range cannon that melts flesh. Yeah, they can get food from the hiding, basically. So it's like, it is the perfect stand for them. And you know what? Fuck it, I'll get into this, because I've been rewatching JoJo recently. and it's why I feel like I should talk about this while, a lot of the characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are extremely autistic, or at least show signs of being extremely autistic. From Anasui wanting to take things apart, to Weather Report walking on his tippy toes, to Jotaro just, like, not giving a shit. And Okuyasu with the hand. A bunch of the characters are, like, you could see this as them showing their autism as a superpower. Almost. Because this is the true strength that they have beneath the surface, even if they aren't, either A, the most intelligent, or B, that good of a person. Like, the stands are what are their true strength. Yes, all turtles will have Mr. President. But I'm not sure how the key works with Mr. President, because the key also is part of the stand, and Le Shrug. I'm not going to get into that because I don't... What is everyone's favorite character in the story or game? Mine would be Weather Report. And I can tell you why, but I don't want to spoil things. You know what? Fuck it. This entire stream is spoilers. Might as well talk about why Weather Report is by far my favorite JoJo character. Like, without a doubt. So, let me pull up Weather here. His design is, first of all, phenomenal, but... Let's see. Yeah, okay. No. Give me a fucking PNG of him in his fucking stand, not the... I don't need the damn background. Ugh, God. Alright, fine. Whatever. I'll just grab the manga panel because the manga panel works and it's... Let's do this shit. This dude right here is the best JoJo character in the animated parts right now. There's one character I think that outdoes him by far, but that's because he's in the manga, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But right now, let's stick to talking about the anime. Weather Report. And Leo, if you don't want spoilers, please leave. Weather Report is a character whose body and soul is connected to his twin brothers. And they are fated to always be fighting, essentially. And none of them will ever win. I have come to the ramblings. Oh, I appreciate that, Blank. But I'm going to say this. Weather Report never did anything wrong. Weather Report is a good person, did nothing but try to be a good person, and his only sin is he unknowingly started dating his own sister. But that's because he was taken by another family and he didn't know that was his sister. His brother essentially calls a hit on him and gets him killed, and his sister is so heartbroken that she kills herself. Weather Report is a broken mess of a character, a beautiful man, and he has no memory of what he could have done. what he did or why he's in prison. But all he knows is he needs to kill his brother. And his power is based upon all of his sorrow from being innocent. He controls the weather. And when I say he controls the weather, I mean he has, by definition, total weather manipulation as a power. This dude can control how hard it rains, when it rains, what it rains. This dude can change the density of the air inside a certain area. This dude can take your breath away. This dude can turn you into a fucking snail. It's completely insane. This dude is nothing but depressed. And his depression gave him the power of weather report. He is a powerhouse by far. Yeah, no, literally, he's breathtaking. How's it going, Natsu? Nice to see so many people in here listening to my rant about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, this is my favorite character. This is why he's my favorite character. And he is by far the most tragic character in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I just wish he's... Anyway, so now that you understand what makes a person stand their stand and how it differs from animals having stands, I feel like we can move on to more deeper topics. Oh yeah, and please donate to Stream for a Cause. They're doing awesome work. And anyway, just give me a second. So I could go over many examples. I could go over all of the JoJos and who they are as people and what their stands mean to them, but effectively, the JoJos in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are all kind of boring. Boring. I'm gonna go with boring. And call me the fuck out if you want. I'm going to say that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is fun because of all the other characters. The Joestars are just there, are just like the leaders. Like, you watch Power Rangers and the Red Ranger's obviously the leader. That's what the Joestars are. The Joestars are the leaders. Except in part 5 where the Joestar is actually second in command for whatever reason. That was a weird move. No, of course. It is completely subjective. It's completely subjective how good the characters are. Like, the best JoJo, in my opinion, is Josuke. Well, no, it's technically Johnny, but animated Joestars, which is what we're talking about right now, is Johnny. Johnny is the best Joestar hands down, but let's talk about Josuke, I guess. Since we might as well talk about why I think he's the best JoJo. Josuke is... Hold on, let me just get a picture of him up. Alright. So... I think one of the best ways of explaining why I think Josuke is the best JoJo comes down to this. Josuke is a character with a heart of gold, a hairdo like a fucking punk, and he doesn't let anyone step on him or over him. Jotaro has an issue where he comes off as too asshole-ish to be likable. And that has always been people's complaint with Josuke. Or, sorry, not Josuke. Jotaro. Joseph is arguably one of the favorites, but he's kind of played off as a joke in the later parts. But Josuke not only has the most fights, he also manages not to kill anyone in his part. Yeah, he is the embodiment of the good boy from animes. Like, this dude is a good dude who literally does nothing but want to help people. Hi, me. I am the Josuke the VTuber. And his entire plan is try and help Jotaro in any way that he can, but he just accidentally stumbles into shit. Like, he takes out Rat pretty easily. That's the one thing he technically kills, but, Rat. Of course, Tink Mama, and thank you for joining me. But none of the main villains die, and most of them, in fact, become allies to him and his cause. So, Mikitaka's surface Mikitaka becomes friends with Koichi. And, he's the most forgiving Joestar, because you never see Giorno try and, get people on his side after he's got the main crew with him. Alright. Thanks for the stretch. Don't forget, bit donations throw anchors at me. Anyway. I grabbed, the worst fucking picture of Josuke, though. God damn, what the hell is this image? The shading is all off on it. Anyway. But Josuke is, in my opinion, the best Jojo because he is the good boy. He never feels like he's got main character syndrome. He never magically, escapes death. Yeah! He got Highway Star on his side. Highway Star, whose literal power is trying to absorb people's life essence. He got on his side. It is insane what this man can do. Because he is a good, honorable man, and he follows most in the footsteps of Jonathan Joestar. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way. Let's see. Do we move on to... What do we actually move on to? Do we want to talk about weird exceptions to rules? Or do we want to talk about Requiem? Because I'm happy talking about either, and I can give you all the details on both. And we're going to talk about both throughout this stream. Just so, let's see. Can I do poll? Do you mind setting up a poll, Leo? Or wait, Leo's not a mod. Who is a mod? Atsu, you're here. Can you set up a poll? Or at least I think you're here. You still here, Atsu? Yeah. Anyway. Point is that... Alright, let's just go talking Requiem stands. Alright. Let me just pull up all three of them here. Alright. Golden Experience Requiem, Chariot Requiem, and then we're going to do Bites the Dust as well. And then we're doing Bites the Dust. So, we got Killer Queen here, which I'll get into it. Chariot Requiem, and everyone knows this fucking stand. I fucking hate this stand. Like, not even because I can't understand it, just I fucking hate this stand. Let me explain to you why. So, what does Requiem mean? Or what is a Requiem stand? Requiem stands are very interesting, right? Because they have three of the same things. All of them got stabbed by the stand arrow a second time. All of them have a changed appearance from their original appearance. And all of them gain a new ability. At least one. So, what do these three stands actually have in fucking common? You know, because, like, wait. Whoops. I put that in the wrong area. There we go. So, the power of so, the thing they all have in common is, after getting stabbed by the stand, they do what the owner of the stand's last wish was. Essentially. That's what the power of a Requiem stand does. It changes your power to be whatever the fuck you need it to be in the moment. So, I guess we should go in order, right? So, we go Killer Queen, then we go Chariot, and then we go Golden Experience. Alright. So, Killer Queen's entire purpose is it's supposed to get rid of evidence for its owner, Yoshikage Kira. Kira being a serial killer who has a hand fetish, basically, blows up women and then steals their hands, and then when he gets bored with the hand, he blows up the hand as well. Perfect way to get away with murder. And that's the entire point, right? So, when he finally gets caught, when he finally gets the Jojo team on him, his entire ability doesn't work anymore due to the fact that, yeah, he could blow people up, he could disguise himself, he could do whatever, right? Like he is. He is very meticulous and he's very careful. So, but what it can't do is get rid of evidence that has already been discovered. So, because people are on his ass, he panics. He kills a kid who... And in his panic state, he gets stabbed by the arrow. Because he knows he's about to be found out and about to be shown that he is a killer. Well, what does this mean? When he gets stabbed by the arrow, he wants his life to go back to what it used to be. So 24 hours gets restarted, and he's allowed to change his choices on what he does for the rest of time, which would give him the perfect out. He acts innocent on that day, or else, like, everyone blows up. And the day starts over till he can get it right. But he gets greedy. This dude goes out hunting for the Jojos and then loses his composure and admits that he is the killer that they've been looking for. Like a fucking idiot. which leads him to show off his stand's new physical form, where he opens up the chest of Killer Queen and in sits their stray cat, which is another stand I'm not going to get into right now. Point is that it did exactly what could have gotten him out of the situation, but he was too bloodthirsty for it to actually happen. Bloodthirsty is his weakness. Bloodthirst is his downfall. Bloodthirst is what leads him to actually losing against the Jojos. Because he is so bloodthirsty that he cannot think about the big picture. Alright. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about... Whoops. Wrong guy. Let's talk about Chariot Requiem. Move you over here, Golden Experience. Alright. Chariot Requiem is the upgraded version of Silver Chariot, which is the stand owned by one Jean-Pierre Polnareff. A wonderful stand who is a sword fighter who effectively is able to increase his speed by removing different parts of his body. By the time Polnareff gets to where he needs Chariot Requiem, he is an old man. He has lost multiple limbs. Chariot Requiem can hardly defend him against the monster, which is Diavolo. And Diavolo has him cornered. So right before Polnareff dies, he stabs Silver Chariot with the arrow, wishing beyond wish, hoping beyond hope, that the arrow can never be obtained by Diavolo. So what happens is everyone is knocked unconscious as Chariot Requiem gets a head start walking away with the arrow, the stand arrow, that made him a Requiem stand, and just keeps walking. The trick here is anyone who gets near him, their stands turn on them. Their stands are hyper powerful and cannot defend against themselves. So, as life begins anew, where everyone is in a new form and their forms are no longer in control of their stands, Silver Chariot gives everyone the opening to kill Diavolo, which ends up happening, kind of. But it takes people too long to realize what is happening. Diavolo figures out how to get the arrow, and it's an entire thing. Which leads us to our third and final stand. Let's talk about this motherfucker. Where to begin with Golden Experience Requiem? This stand is a terrifying stand. I would say it's actually probably the worst written stand in all of Jojo. I'm going to say it. Worst written stand in all of Jojo. This stand has the ability to give life. That life reflects damage, and Giorno, the owner of this stand, is a Mary Sue. I don't care what people say. He's a Mary Sue. Live with it, or whatever the equivalent is. This stand's ability to This stand comes from the need to defeat a person who can skip time. So his power is to undo skip time and make it so no action occurs during that time period. His action is to make you unable to act. Full stop. It's a passive ability that happens, and it's literally one of the few stands that can actually, like, just, yeah, it resets things to 0 effectively. So, bullets that were fired are no longer fired. Bullets that, or people who moved no longer moved. And basically, he gets free hits on you till the day he dies. And let's talk about exactly what his ability is. Because, yeah, he's got the reset to 0, but he's got one more hit that is kind of insane. If you ever... So, there's a reason some people are afraid of Infinite, and that's because it is unending. Golden Experience Requiem has Infinite as a punch. He makes you live infinitely until however long, and you will never see a conclusion to your life. Your life is permanent suffering until you survive. And then it starts again. And 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 again. It is terrifying. There's no limit. And this is probably the worst written stand ever. Because... what? Like, even I don't even know. This thing is a monster, and it is sentient on its own, and only it knows why Diavolo, like, ended up dying, and even then, Diavolo doesn't die. He just loops. Don't get me wrong. This is an awesome conclusion visually. This stand makes no fucking sense because it has nothing to do with Giorno, and it sure as fuck doesn't have anything to do with the situation he was in. They just gave him infinite punch so Giorno didn't have to kill him. But killing him would have been way more merciful than whatever the fuck Giorno's doing to him now. What is hell's name, courier of the internet, did I walk into? I never saw that. Alright, well, that's good for you. This is Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, and I am a VTuber by the name of Charity Goblin Ruby. Please, you're welcome to stay if you are interested, but yes. Effectively, I don't like this stand. I don't. It is stupid to me, and it's just a kid showing how power crazy, you know. It's a kid saying, yeah, well, my stand can do this. It's a... God, it is so fucking stupid, this stand. Like, I get that it's supposed to be an upgraded life punch, but it's not, it doesn't feel like that, and it doesn't come off as that. Alright. So now that we've got that out of the way. So now we understand how Requiem stands typically are evolutions and upgrades and what determines their upgrade. We now know why stands exist, what makes them different from one another, and what it's based on based on the character's personality and life. So next, I'm sure. I'm sure we can talk about some of the outliers when it comes to stands, because the outliers are what most people say, yeah, but this is an exception to the rule. So let's talk about them. The first stand we're going to talk about that breaks all these rules is not an old bus, but Anubis. Thank you, Randall. I'm glad you like my tavern. It's a really nice background. I also have a night version of it, which I'll be swapping to later on in the stream. But Anubis is a sentient sword that user is based on who is holding the sword at the time. This stand is just kind of strange because the user of the stand's owner was the person who crafted the sword. Like, that's just how that works. Legitimately. Anubis's original user is whoever crafted the sword, who is now probably dead because Anubis does that. There is no physical object that has a stand other than this one, to my knowledge. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like, maybe Sugar Mountain Spring, but even that has a user and it's more of a curse than it is a stand. Well, no. Sugar Mountain Spring, a tree has the stand, not a... Okay, no, hold on. That we can talk about in a second when we talk about Hermit Purple and Ball Breaker. I'm going to talk about... I plan on talking about Hermit Purple and Ball Breaker in a minute. But this is the first exception I wanted to bring up because I don't think this is... I think this stand was made by whoever made the sword. The stand has cursed the sword, and so the sword's owners are now their users because the stand user is probably deceased by now. And that is who we see exiting Dio Chateau when everyone leaves the meeting. That and Whole Horse. Maybe Remote Romance, but that is a website and non-canon. Yeah. I'm not going to get into the world over heaven or anything like that, or any of the Gucci stands or whatever, because I know those exist. But this sword, the reason it's an exception is because this is a bound stand that exists after the enemy is either dead or defeated. This is a bound stand, which is what's it called? Strength, which is like ZZ's Wheel Fortune, which is Notorious Big is another exception I'm getting to right after Anubis. I'm not kidding you. Ebony Devil only works when the user is not dead during the Ebony Devil fight. He's hiding in a bathroom and then he dies because his puppet gets skewered. It only works because he gets hit. He reflects the damage onto the puppet and the puppet seeks revenge for him. So, almost. Ebony Devil is actually a very interesting stand too, but I don't have time to go through well, actually I might. But this is the first exception I want to focus on, because the people who wield this end up wielding it improperly, and its sentience causes its own downfall. So a stand can technically defeat itself, which happens in this fight, and it is insane. This is a remote sentient bound stand, and it is the only one of its kind, which is insane. Alright. Now, because I saw it mentioned, let's talk about Notorious Big. Alright. So, there are stands that activate post-mortem. This is an example of that. We are shown that these stands exist with the existence of Stray Cat, which was Tama's stand before he got crushed by furniture. And this belongs to Carne. This stand is a automatic stand, which means that it has a trigger instead of a will. So, like, a person with, like, Jojo with Star Platinum can will Star Platinum do things. This thing only acts on a trigger, which is movement for this one. And the other one that's an example of this is Black Sabbath, where it only reacts to, if the lighter goes out, do this, and don't stop doing this. This thing is, if it moves, kill it. Or absorb it. And if it's... And essentially, it's just strong. Like, that's it. It is indestructible due to it not actually being composed of a solid material. It's composed of this, like, goop that just absorbs shit and punches things. And when it absorbs shit, then it just... It grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it becomes the Kraken, eventually. So this is a automatic stand that is indestructible, and that's all this is. This thing isn't an exception to a rule, and it doesn't even require its user to die. But its user does happen to die, so it's also technically a post-mortem stand to gain its full power. Basically, his will still lingers on it, unlike Anubis's will. So I wouldn't even say this thing's sentient. Despite it acting on its own, it's not sentient. It's just a tool that is told to do one thing, and it does that one thing over and over and over again and again and again and again and again and again. So that's the power of Notorious B.I.G. Now, what could have led to the dude's personality being like this? I have no idea, but I assume he's obsessed with protecting the boss, Diavolo, or whatever you want to call him. Because that's all he does, is he wants to protect him, so he does. It was not healthy at all. Whatever it wasn't healthy. Yeah. No, this dude has an obsession of some sort, and that's it. We get like 2 scenes of him, and then he dies, and that's it. Let's see. I was going to talk about a stand, and I forget which one it was. Ebony Devil is a very interesting one. Strength is a bound stand, and it's the first example of a bound stand, as well as Toth, which I'm going to go into detail with Toth later, because it leads into my King Crimson explanation, and I don't want to do my King Crimson explanation today. Because that involves so much more going into. So let's see, what else was there? There was another exception stand that I want to go over. So here's a weird one, actually. Earth, Wind, and okay, that I'll go over after Tomb of the Boom. Because Earth, Wind, and Fire is so much fun. Tomb of the Boom. Jojo. This is a weird-ass stand. So, if you guys have not read Steel Ball Run, I highly recommend it, but yeah. This stand is owned by 3 separate characters all at the same time. And the reason this works is because, please don't take this out of context, they are an inbred family. They are an inbred family, and Tomb of the Boom is very much like an amalgam of all of their mindsets put into one. And so like, their unhealthy mindset leads to this thing, which is unhealthy in and of itself. Anyway, so like Rat, or like, you know, Coco Jumbo, or Mr. President, Tomb of the Boom is exactly that. It's basically, they have the same instinct, they have the same goal, they all control the same stand, only this time it's all at once instead of in 3 separate instances. I'm just not a big fan of this stand, but anyway. Now let's go into Earth, Wind, and Fire! Jojo. So, you know what? I'm just gonna stick Mikitaka up here because I don't actually have a picture for this fucking stand. Here's Mikitaka. Mikitaka Hazamura, the Schrodinger of stands. This dude... It's unclear if this dude is a stand user or even has a fucking stand. But what we do know is he can transform. He can transform into effectively anything. But he chooses to look human, and it is implied that he is basically a Vulcan walking around on Earth. And he just wants to be accepted by the Earthlings, so he does things for them. Like, turns into dice to gamble with. And so on and so forth. So, I cannot answer if this dude is a stand user or not, but if he was a stand, this would be a self-bound stand that's it. This would be a self-bound stand. It's not quite like... It's not quite like Gaucho's White Album where, you know, he's wearing it. It's more like he's a fucking... He's an alien. Like, or at least he believes he's an alien. He was struck by the stand arrow, but it doesn't seem like he gained any powers from it, which is odd. It's so hard to explain because, like, this character is and isn't a stand all at once, but nothing changed and he believed himself an alien before he got struck by the stand arrow. The stand arrow is what gives people stands. It gives people who weren't born with stands. So, I don't think he's a stand user, because the arrow does something it never has ever done with anything else when it strikes him. It bounces off of him, and he's just confused and continues about his day, and then wakes up later down the fucking, like, sleeping in a fucking crop circle. Like, it is so unclear, and it's left unclear for that very purpose, if Mikitaka is a stand user. How's it going, Amber? Love you. I don't know. It just seems kind of... Oh. Thanks for resubbing, Amber. I appreciate you. "21 months. Hell yeah." So the Schrodinger of all stands is this man. Because this man either is or isn't a stand user, and is or isn't an alien, so we don't know what's actually natural to him, and what isn't. How's it going, Kelsey? I'm pretty sure I could go into research and, dig deeply on this, because, like, even at the end, he has a mother, but he claims that the mother is just mind controlled to think he's human. Like, this dude could be the most evil dude in all of Jojo, and we don't even know it because he's some goofy alien guy. I just... Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire, no idea. And then the other dude who has a stand that's named similarly... Anyway. It's an entire thing. I guess I could get into it. But then... You know what? Because we talked about one fan favorite character, let's talk about another. Let's get FF in here. So, everyone knows Best Girl. Best Girl in Jojo. Oh God, this image is terrible. Hold on. That is too low quality for my standards. There we go. That's better. That soup looked delicious, by the way, Blank. I want you to know that. Alright. Let's talk about Best Girl here. Foo Fighters. So, this is another person who is technically their own stand. They are sentient plankton that can form a body made out of whatever is nearby. Technically. And they can reproduce insanely quickly. They managed to beat some of the strongest characters in this part, but due to their idiocy, they end up losing to a simple trick. And I don't blame her, to be perfectly honest. How's it going, Eka? Ink and Pixel Squad. Of course you get a hug, Amber. Anyway, so this stand is and controls itself, which I guess isn't really a bad thing. It just... is a thing. It works similarly to Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's just that she isn't like the only reason she ever dies is because she runs out of water. And when she runs out of water, like the plankton start evaporating and she has nothing left. She's and I've said this. I love this character. It's not a mystery what they are. This could be a very similar thing to what Mikitaka is, but just they don't explain it. But that's the point of Mikitaka, is they're never going to explain it. But there is no question that she is a stand made of krill, or sorry, not krill, plankton, that is super powerful. And she acts like it. Like, she knows how strong she is. She knows what she can handle. She knows what she needs to survive, and she knows how to do it all. That's why she always keeps that fucking cup of water around with her. But yeah, and honestly, she might straight up be one of the coolest characters Jojo has ever made. Like, she's up there on the level of, like, coolness as, like, Yugi is when you're a kid. But, I don't know. Is Mikitaka an alien? That's up to you. I'm not here to answer that question. But the point is that in every part there are exceptions to every rule that JoJo makes for itself, and that is kind of the issue. The consistency of JoJo is that each stand is different and is typically controlled by its own user in one way or another. Minus, like... No. That's it. Oh, a bot? Get the fuck out of here. Anyway. Yes. So... JoJo stands are based on their characters' personalities, their characters' motives, their characters' drives, their characters' traumas, their characters' passions, their characters' everything. And each power is uniquely different from the last power because each character has lived vastly different lives. It's why they don't all have the same fucking power. Now, I'm not sure, but I know some of the animals... like, show increased intelligence, and I'm not sure if that's a stand thing, or if that is why they have a stand. Make sure you do not appear here again, bot. Blah. Whack his pee-pee? God damn it. God. That's gross. Anyway. So, yeah, like, I don't think there is actually a stand that is stronger than, like, I don't think there is a stand that does not fall under one of the categories of stands. There isn't a category that is an exception to every rule. But there are a lot of rules that are bent, like Sex Pistols. Sex Pistols bends a lot of the rules. So, Sex Pistols is a stand that is sentient, it eats, it sleeps, and it has independent thoughts within its own self. Which is probably the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen a stand do. I'm not even sure if that is like an accurate statement, though. Like, to the extent that it is, but God, there's so many questions I have, and there's so much to do in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that like all the stands fit under one of the categories, if not all of them, which is they're either bound stands or they're sentient stands or they're just generic stands like Star Platinum, which is probably the most generic stand. Your favorite stand is a weird one? Oh, the bound stand, the Superfly. All along the watch. Wait, no, all along the Watchtower is a different one. Which one's that? All along the Watchtower is. Hold on, Jojo. Which one's this? This is. Oh, this is one of the Purple Haze feedback stands. Yeah. There's a reason it didn't come to mind immediately. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. It's a card-bound stand from Shameless Purple Haze. Yeah. I always heard it called Purple Haze Feedback. Anyway, besides the point. So now, I do want to take a second to talk about all of the enemy stands aside from King Crimson. Like, at least the main bad guys stand, because they always pose some sort of threat, and they usually have a time gimmick. Yeah, it probably is a translation thing, but yeah. So I want to talk about the world. Let's start with the world because I don't... Oh, actually, no. I wanted to talk about Hermit Purple while we were talking about exceptions. Hold on. Let me pull that thing up. So, Hermit Purple. Jojo. Alrighty, let's talk about this bullshit stand, because this stand is interesting. This stand and Ballbreaker have one thing in common, and that's that it can be used by multiple people. Let me also get Ballbreaker up here. Alright. So, there we go. There's Ballbreaker. So these two stands are very interesting because these stands do not belong to people, they belong to inanimate things, like phenomena. They belong to the phenomena of the world of JoJo. Ballbreaker is weird because we don't know who it belongs to. It's the stand of spin. It is effectively the stand of spin. And that's what I'm going with here. Like, it is the stand of the person who used it, who has the power of the spin. And I'm not going to get into that right now because let's focus on Hermit Purple, who is the easier to explain one. Hermit Purple is the stand of Haman. How's it going, Jester? Jester? Hope you're doing well. Hermit Purple is the stand of Haman, where Haman is a phenomena that happens in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure when your breathing gets in such a rhythm that it can heal, it can cause you to extend your arm farther, and it can basically cause vampires to shatter in front of you. Haman is basically what you use to kill vampires. Hermit Purple is the stand of Haman. Haman, because it is owned by both Joseph Joestar and Jonathan Joestar's body. As seen, it is used by Dio. Also, just a random observation, Ballbreaker's head looks like a pitching machine. Yeah, it does. No, I agree, Jester, but who am I to judge? Yeah, parts 1 and 2 are my favorite. Well, actually, part 7's my favorite, but part 1 and 2 are still really good. Anyway, so this stand is based on the user's ability to use Haman, which is basically the Super Saiyan of Jojo. Still on the Egypt arc? Oh, so long. Anyway, the entire point is that as you see, I promise, Jester, it gets better after part 3. Anyway, part 7. So Joseph's stand is not actually his stand. It's actually Haman's stand. And the only reason Jonathan doesn't do it is because his body hasn't awakened the ability to use stands. Same with Joseph in part 2. But when Jonathan's body calls for help, because it was taken over by Dio, all of the Joestar stands activate. So, Halikujo's, who, like, whatever, Josuke Higashikata's, Crazy Diamond, Jotaro's Star Platinum, Joseph's Hermit Purple, Giorno's blah, 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 blah. You get the point. The point is that now that's all active, he now has this stand on top of his Haman, but it belongs to the Haman itself, not... Anyway, I just want to make it clear that this stand does not belong to Joseph Joestar. No matter how many people say it does, it doesn't. Fuck you. Ballbreaker is similar. Instead of Haman, in their timeline, they use Spin. This is Spin's. Spin's Ballbreaker. That's it. Any questions? If not, I'm moving on to the world, and we're going to talk about what makes a villain stand a villain stand, because, could be fun. Alright. I'm going to wait a few minutes for any questions, and I will continue on. There is actually one more thing I should talk about after we talk about the villain stands, and that is fate. Because fate is a real thing in JoJo. Many, but I think that's a me problem. Feel free to ask any of them. I'm here to answer JoJo questions. Because, fuck it, I love JoJo. Please, Blank, do not hold back. Anyway. Ballbreaker and Hermit Purple are definitely interesting, and I know they don't belong to the fucking, stand users that they are said to belong to. Alright. So I'll give you a few minutes to come up with your question, Blank, and I am going to pull up the world here in a second. Alright. Let's use this picture of the world. How do other stands get sent to help us. Okay, so this is just something you have to buy, but when Jonathan's, and that is also a yes. But okay, let me start with your first question. How do other stands get sent to help others? All right, so Jonathan's body was resting peacefully in, well, not peacefully, but Jonathan's body was stolen by a man named Dio. And the body is basically the antithesis of an anti-vampire like powerhouse. Dio, on the other hand, stands need to be owned to exist. Okay, so slow down on your questions, but yes, I will be answering these. So, Jonathan's body, basically, when it got stolen by Dio and was being corrupted by Dio, sent out a signal to the other Joestars that it needed help. Because, or else Dio was going to take over the world. Which threw Joseph Joestar into action to find Muhammad Abdul, to find... And it leads into all of Stardust Crusaders. So now, your next question is, can one own multiple stands? Yes. Technically. You can own a stand, and then that stand can have sub-stands. Like, Killer Queen has Killer Queen itself. Killer Queen also has its second bomb, which is called Sheer Heart Attack. And Killer Queen has its third bomb, known as Bites the Dust. Which are all stands in and of itself, which can be activated separately from Killer Queen itself. Does a stand need to be owned to exist? So, you missed the beginning of this. Stands are based completely on the personality of the owner of the stand. So whatever the stand user's personality is, manifests into what the stand looks like and it behaves like and what its power actually is. For instance, one of the stand users is a rape victim, so their mouth is sewn shut, they have a poisonous fog around them, and you know, they deal and they kill anything that gets too close. Because they were traumatized this way. To be this way. So, and are there a finite amount of stands that can exist? No. Stands are based on the different amount of people, and the different amount of people come up with every lived experience will play into your stand. At least the major ones in your life. The stand is the battle aura of the person made manifest. Yes. Well, it's not just their battle aura. It's more than just that. But yes. That is correct. So, when a person stand does a specific thing, it's because something in their life triggers them to do that thing. Except for Star Platinum. Star Platinum's its own fucking beast in and of itself, and I don't want to get into that. There's one stand that I'm refusing to talk about because I plan to do an entire 3-hour stream breaking down why this stand is stupid and why it is my least favorite stand in all of Jojo, and that is King Crimson. And I'm also going to be explaining Toth, which is a stand that can see the future, and Rolling Stone, which, in my opinion, is by far the strongest stand in all of Jojo. Anyway, so now that we got that out of the way, say hello to the world. The world is a very interesting stand because it belongs to the first major villain of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Dio. Now, this is Dio's stand, The world, yeah, everyone knows the meme. The world, yeah, this is him. This stand is okay. This stand harbors the resentment of 100 years, 100+ years of hatred that Dio has for the Joestar family bloodline. I'm going to call you out on this one, Jester. The world does not belong to Jonathan or Joseph. It's Jonathan's body, first of all. And no. This stand belongs to Dio and Dio on his own. And there's a reason for this. There is a reason stated in the manga, and if you haven't caught up to part 7, there is another showing of Dio having this stand. And it's fucking insane. But yes, Jonathan's body, does not manifest the world. Jonathan's body manifests Hermit Purple, which is used by Dio to find out that Joseph and the crew are going on a plane. Yeah, don't get me started. I missay their names all the time. I've probably done it like 10 times in this stream. Anyway, this stand is the basis of a 100-year grudge against the Joestars. This stand is made to freeze time, giving Dio enough time to set all of his plans in motion before the Joestars get to him, which is what all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is about. Everything is set in motion because the world gives him enough time to set it in motion. This dude got killed in the 80s at the end of part 3. It takes till 2011 for his plans to come to fruition. So this dude had 30 years of planning already planned out. And it's fucking insane. So this is a 100-year grudge as a character. And so, as such, it is used by Dio to make his ultimate plan. The Heaven plan. But I'm not... That deserves a video all of itself. The Heaven plan essentially gets one the ultimate power. To know the future, to know all that's going to happen. Which actually is a great transition into my next discussion. So, if there are any more questions on stands, I'm going to be changing topics. Please put your questions in now, and I am going to probably go get some water and then get back to this. Because I fucking love talking about JoJo. But yes. Alright. Go and drink some of my water. Go on. Give me like 5 minutes. I will be back. Alright. BRB. Alrighty, people, we're back. Oh, I just realized I don't have the. Hold on, give me a second. I don't have my background music on this thing. There it is. Alright, wait. Alright, cool. Oh, good. All the settings saved. Alright, let's talk about Fate and Jojo. So, oh, thank you, Blank. And Blank, please, if you have any more questions, apologies. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat and I will be happy to answer them. Alright. Let's talk about this shit. Fate exists in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Fate is the foundation of multiple stands, multiple characters, and everything when it comes to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, Fate keeps everything in balance. As in, when one thing seems unlikely to happen and it happens, that is because Fate deemed it that way. For example, I guess I can't avoid talking about Thoth, but you know what? Fine. Let's talk about Thoth. Or Thoth? How do you pronounce the Egyptian god's name? Is it Thoth? Yeah, it's Thoth. Alright. So, let's talk about this thing. Thoth, which is the name of this stand, is a bound stand that can and will predict fate. This tells you what will happen in the immediate future. And if you go against it, something bad will happen to you. So, fate, by design, always repays its debts if you are caught defying it. There is not a single character in JoJo who defies fate and isn't justly punished for it. Whole Horse shoots himself in the head, Boingo blows himself up, and Diavolo gets his eternal reward, if you will. Those who defy fate defy everything, and those who try to defy fate get even worse outcomes. Misa loses 3 of his friends because he tried to defy fate, instead of just losing 1. But we'll get to that next time. But what I want to talk about is Fate's existence in JoJo is a tangible thing that you can see throughout the series. It's fate that all of the Joestars get their stands once Dio starts using Jonathan's body. The same goes for everyone. Stands existed before the Joestars, and stands will exist after the Joestars. But it is fate that makes the Joestars important to the world, because fate favors them to defeat evil. They are Fate's task force to defeat all those who try to defy it, along with a few other things, but yes. They are the wholeness of good. They are the ultimate gentleman, if you will. or gentle ladies, however you want to call it. And it's honestly quite a interesting thing because Toth tells you the immediate future. So how can you fuck up how can you fuck up fate if you know the outcome of fate? Well, because you don't know the outcome. This thing just shows you what will happen. So you don't know why it's going to happen, but you know that it will happen. Like, Whole Horse has an entire scene where he reads the book and he's like, and it tells him, you're going to kick this woman in the back of the head and she's going to give you $1 million. Why the fuck would she do that? Well, he ends up trying to fight the urge to kick her in the back of the head, but then he goes and does it, kills a scorpion that was about to sting and kill her, and she gives him $1 million as a thank you. It is, fate can be misinterpreted or not make any sense at all, but the fact that it will and does happen is the existence of fate in and of itself. Now, again, there is one stand that can change fate, and that's why I think it's the strongest stand in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but we're not getting into that. Oh? Ooh, Crimson Rain. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the follow. My entire point is that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an entire thing based around the concept of fate. Ever since the first episode, Jonathan Joestar was fated to do something good. He brings the end of Dio's vampiric tyranny to its knees. Joseph Joestar is destined to do something good, so he stops the Pillarmen from making vampires, from taking over the world and making a vampire army and becoming the perfect beings. Fate always has it this way for them. That's why Josuke is the last person to beat Kira. Giorno is the person to beat Diavolo. It's because the Joestars are fated to be pillars of good. Because fate exists. And fate is one of the most important things in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because even though most people don't see it like it is by far important. It is by far the most important. Because if there was no fate, then what's to stop Diavolo from just killing everyone the moment they, And the existence of Thoth, whatever, implies the existence of a previous world where fate had already played out. Because to be able to see the future, the future must have already been written. And because of one of the powers in JoJo Part 6, we know that history can be rewritten over and over again. Who were the last Joestars? Nobody knows. Who are the next Joestars? Well, Johnny's where it starts, and Josuke is where it continues. And Jodio is where it's continuing even further. Point is that, in the end, fate requires a Joestar. Whether it's the English Joestars or the American Joestars, it doesn't matter. Let's be honest. It could be whoever the fuck. The Joestars are going to exist, the stands are going to exist, the powers are going to exist, and they are going to stop evil. It is it's what they do. The Joestars are fated to be the good guys, are fated to be awesome. They aren't villains. They never are. There's never a bad Joestar because they are fated to be the good guys. Even with Josuke being a mischief maker and the other Josuke having 4 testicles, that's all I can really say. Like, they are the good guys. They are fated for this, and fate will forever chase them and favor them because they stop those who try to defy it. They stop Dio. They stop Pucci. They stop everyone. Of course, Pucci is its own. I'm not going to get into Pucci because I don't want to spoil it for my friend Leia. So you're saying that fate needs Joestars or Joestars need fate? No, the fate makes Joestars. That's the idea. Because at the end of the story, at the end of the first story, and I'm just going to say first story to keep it vague, everything starts over and the Joestars are no longer the Joestars. But then we get new Joestars. So fate needs the Joestars to stop evil. So you could say they're the warriors of fate. They're the ones who always beat those that try to escape it. Because what is a vampire? What is a vampire's meaning if not to defy fate? Because your fate is you're going to die. What are vampires? They're immortal, sort of. So what do the Joestars do? They kill all the vampires. Sure. Then what? Well, then whatever the vampires put in motion afterwards becomes... Anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is that they are weapons used by fate, and fate favors them, even if there are other avenues to, go down. I may have only been at this for 2 hours, but I've been talking like non-fucking stop. So, I am willing to take questions, give you guys 5 minutes or whatever to take in everything I've said today. And I am happy to answer any questions from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Anything whatsoever. Even if it's the most basic of basics, I am happy to answer it. Like, even if it's, what's your favorite stand? Who's your favorite character? Why do you like that character? What is, Because my favorite character is, the conduit of fate. Ringo Rodigan. And his stand is the definition of overpowered for what it does. But we're not going to worry about that. So yes, please, ask me any questions. They're vampires? How? So, the origin of vampires is actually very interesting in JoJo, because they are an invention of an ancient race of people now only known as the Pillarmen. And they were made to basically be a more potent food source for the Pillarmen. Instead of feeding off of humans, they would feed off of vampires. But the Pillarmen, one of them wanted to become the ultimate life form. So he started working on this he started to work on modifications of these masks that would cause humans to turn into vampires. And he he actually did end up becoming all-powerful, but he ended up getting cocky and losing to Joseph Joestar. But yes, vampires exist as a feeding mechanism for the Pillarmen. Feeding mechanism and soldier for the Pillarmen. Which is, to be honest, one of my favorite parts. Anyway. I think that's enough for today. I've been talking for 2 hours straight. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank you all for being here. And I know this was a bit different. I wasn't feeling up to, doing my normal gaming stream today. I've just been so out of it, and I want to send you off on a good note. So please, we have been doing so well with streaming these past few days that I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to... Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. I want to say thank you all. Thank you all so much. Come on. Really? Oh, I know why. Alright, Well, I'm going to send you all off to my friend Cabal. So, wait, nope, not that. Let's see. Actually, you know what? No, fuck it. We're going to Tiefling Melissa. Someone I've been meaning to talk to more and hang out with more. But I thank you all for coming. Let's go into Tiefling Melissa. Have a good night.